Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I'm going to show you a couple of cards that I made by stamping with my Zig Clean Color brush markers. Just two different ways that I found that was kind of fun to do this. The stamp set I'm using is called Girl in a Garden. It's a Gracie L design stamp set from Unity. And I've pulled out my Zig markers. I'm starting with the larger basket image from this stamp set. And I have a brown Zig marker, a green, and kind of a lavender lilac color. And all I'm doing is just going in really quickly and coloring on the spots on the image, each spot that I want the color. And I'm trying to move fairly quickly so it doesn't dry too much, but I am going to lightly mist it with water, which will help. So don't worry too much if it dries a little bit. Add the green in there to finish off. And then what I'm going to do with I have a spray mister, and I'm going to just mist it 2 times very lightly, kind of from a distance. And then I came back in and added a little purple where I felt like I'd missed it a little. Added one more little mist of water, and then stamp it on watercolor paper. And if you look close, you can kind of see that adding the little bit of water sort of gives it almost like a hand-drawn effect, which is kind of fun. Now for the second card, I'm going to do something very similar. I'm going to color on them, but this time I'm not going to mist with water. And I'm just going to keep, ended up stamping a pattern on here. Just gradually stamping the green, stamping the purple, or I'm sorry, not stamping, coloring on, and then stamping each one as I finish coloring. Some of them, it kind of gets different depending on how much you get on there with the marker as you're doing it. Some of them end up a little more clear and crisp. Some of them end up a little more the watercolor effect. So it's kind of fun, even though you're using one stamped image and making a background, it looks a little I don't know, more free-spirited, more watercolor. I guess when I think of watercolor, I don't think of crisp lines and everything being perfect. I like the variation that you get by doing that. And I'm just kind of carefully lining everything up so that I get kind of an even pattern by laying it out and doing it that way. I love the way the soft colors are with this. You could do this with distress markers or a lot of different things, but or even small ink cubes, I suppose, that markers are just a little bit easier to get into all the spots and color. So once I finished having that stamped on there, I did end up trimming that panel down a little just to make it a little more even, because when I finished my pattern I noticed it was a little offset on one side. So I trimmed that down, and then I'm going to stamp my sentiments on here. Now I'm going to do my sentiments 2 different ways. For this first one, since it has a little more of that soft watercolor feel to it, I'm going to stamp the sentiment the same way with the Zig markers, using my Misty. So since it's words, I wanted to make sure I got a clear impression. My sentiment is from a stamp set called He Will Sustain You, and I'm using 2 different colors to stamp my sentiment. And I really, again, I like lining it up in my Misty, partly because I'm stamping on watercolor paper, so I need to get the words clear enough to read. And there you can see I go over that purple again. But if I miss any little spots or it's not quite clear enough, I can restamp it again and get a nice clear look at it. But it looks almost hand-done watercolored, which fits the feel of that card really well. For the second card, I ended up just stamping the sentiment in black. I could have watercolored it in with the Zig markers, but I decided I just wanted the sentiment nice and crisp and clear to fit the feel of this card. This one's a little more, it's got the artsy feel from the Zig markers, but it's a little more clean and crisp, just with the pattern and everything on there. The sentiment on this is from the same stamp set as the other one, the He Will Sustain You. I really love the sentiments on there, and they work really well. There we go. I've got those finished. Now I'm just going to mat them, add some pattern paper, and finish my cards off. Thanks so much for coming by. Hope you have a wonderful day.